And we're back. I am Tam,
And I'm mortal.
and this is the Hidden Egg podcast where we talk about vulnerability and be vulnerable and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, I have a few little intro things, and first and foremost, I'm probably going to put this in the article with the thing. I'm working on a graphic.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and they can't see the graphic, but you can see the graphic.
Yeah.
And maybe if they're listening through the Medium article that I share or the Patreon article that I share, they may see the graphic also.
Right.
I'm probably gonna go with this one, but when I put it on there, I'm probably going to do all of them so that they can kind of see the development
Yeah.
of it. Although I'm between these two, you know, but I felt like that one made more sense.
I, um, I have a hard time differentiating between the two of them. I like the top one, actually.
Okay,
But
I
it
do
doesn't
too.
matter.
But so that's the thing, and then so people have expressed some interest in joining the conversation with us, like doing. They haven't actually said like what they want to do with it, but like I take that to mean like the Twitch scene where they have Twitch chat stuff, or maybe doing a Discord where they can, you know, maybe actually speak with us sometimes, but for the most part, do a chat thing to while they're listening to a live thing. And I don't know that we're really ready to do that just yet.
No. That can be something for the future, certainly, but, like, that's not something I'm currently willing to climb socially at the moment.
But I've had two people specifically kind of comment on that, and one was, of course, you good,
Yeah.
and
Hi, you good?
the other one was Stephanie Braden, which she was the first person to follow me on the Accidental Monster Medium account,
Oh,
which
okay.
makes her a little bit special to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that's only two people for now, but I have a feeling that there's going to be more. And now that I've mentioned it, I have a feeling that the people who are listening are probably going to be like, yeah, yeah, do that.
Sure, we can have guests. That's what you're saying, basically, right? Guests to speak with us.
Well, it's more that I want to give people the option to have a chatty sort of option. Like if okay, so if we did it on Discord, we could make it to where it's very much like Twitch, where we're talking in the channel, but there's a text-based channel where they can, you know, send chatty things and kind of add things into the conversation that way.
Sure.
And then moving from there, we can probably do like special guest things where we bring people on to talk with us.
Yeah, Discord's a good service for that sort of thing that you're talking about. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that it's going to be like next episode or anything like that, but
Give me a little bit of time.
yeah. Give me a little bit of time. I'm not able to jump right into that either. My next, my very next thing is to get off of Podbean. Really,
Shout out to Podbean.
yeah. I mean, they're great for being able to give like 5 hours of free um, podcast hosting. But beyond that, I really don't like the way their website's set up, and I really knew even when I uploaded, I knew I wasn't going to stay with them anyway. So I'm really looking forward to in the next week being able to pack everything up and move it over to a different host.
1 second. So yeah, and to be fair, we're using the free version of Podbean. We don't know what it's like when you subscribe, when you pay money to Podbean. So maybe they have a more friendly user interface. So
Yeah, they could.
I don't want to dog shit all over the company, but, like, it's not really what's working for us. So
Yeah.
we'll be changing platforms at some point in that regard.
Yeah. So I didn't know if this was a thing that we should do, but I thought maybe it would be fun to go through the comments that we have had thus far. Um, because we have had some comments. Did you mind going over some of these
No, I don't
for a
mind.
little bit?
I don't know that it. I mean, depending on what happens with this podcast, it may not always be sustainable for us to go through the comments. But as it's beginning, yeah, absolutely. Let's see what people are saying about it.
Well, this one was just a few days ago, and I, Jenny Lane is kind of a medium giant. And if you don't know what I mean by that, I mean she is a popular medium writer that has a lot of followers and gets a lot of traction. I know she probably doesn't feel like a medium giant because like none of the medium giants really feel like medium giants except for like maybe uh, what is his name? Stubblebean? I forgot his name. Y'all know him. You know who I'm talking about. He's the CEO, current CEO of the company. Or Ev Williams. Like they probably feel like medium giants because they were CEOs of past and present. But anyway, so Jenny Lane couldn't get the podcast to play. And I know that that might be a crappy thing to read out, but I checked it out, and sure enough, on the app, you can't get the play button to work. I don't know if that's Podbean also. So that's another motivator to get switched over to the other one to see if maybe that
Sure. If there was
fixes the
difficulty,
problem.
I wasn't aware of it. You mean through your article the episode didn't play?
Yeah, because I can get it to play on the computer, but when I'm in the app, the play button does nothing. It just
Oh.
when I press all over the place, it just wants me to go to the Podbean website, and it works there. And it's fine doing that, but people don't want to go to another website just to.
Right. If you're
That's the
gonna have
point
an
of it
app,
having it
if you're gonna
embedded.
if you're gonna be an audio place with an app, then being able to listen to the audio on the app seems preferable.
Yeah. So thank you.
Sorry about your experience, Jenny Lane.
Thank you to Jenny Lane for pointing
I
that
mean, you
out.
can't hear it, so maybe. Well, sorry anyway.
Well, maybe at some point she'll get to hear it.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Well, I hope you find smiles, Jenny.
Most people have just been really excited, like Camilla Seth and Blogs by Jay and Kay Joseph, who I guess listened to it while they did the dishes, which is really awesome.
Hell yeah. Use whatever you need to make those dishes easier.
Right? I talked last time about what It's Always Right Now had said about the podcast, at least on the first thing. And most people just seemed really excited. Dennis Gorbanov, Linda Cowgill, of course, Carrie. Carrie's
Carrie.
been super excited. She's been awesome. Thank you so much, Carrie. Jake FM, who, he's kind of a friend of mine as well, medium friend of mine as well. He's been pretty excited.
Aw, that's a nice comment, Jake. Thanks.
Akeen Moses, I hope I'm saying your first name correctly because if I'm not, I'm so, so sorry. He's awesome and seems also inspired by the podcast, which I'd love to see any articles that we may actually inspire from doing this. I don't know, maybe we won't. Maybe that's not the kind of inspiration it is, but
right. Inspiration dies at our podcast.
There's also Sierra Lane and the Sturg. And they were very excited to hear the first podcast as well. On Podbean specifically, Carrie even, God bless her, went to make an account on Podbean to send a message, and she thinks we flow very easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently
nice
it's not visible, like it's not visible, audible that we are anxious when we do this.
We're a little anxious in front of the mic, but you and I do flow easily. We're constantly trying to understand the intention and idea that the other person has, and that makes for pretty easy flow.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course she's excited everywhere. I love her excitement. It's really motivating.
I'm glad that she supported the TAM and Mort talks or whatever.
Yes.
That's hilarious.
You did mention that you wanted people to call you Mort more often.
I'm not. I haven't necessarily decided to stand on that hill just yet. I thought it was an interesting idea and it might be funny, but I keep waffling on it. So.
Well, I think it used to be a popular name/nickname, like Mortimer Mort, but it kind of fell out. Maybe you're bringing it back.
I don't know. It's one of those words that I want to hear because it's a funny word.
Yeah.
Because the mouth has to move oddly to say Mort. like you have to try to throw that T at the end of it, and it's interesting to watch people try. But like I don't want to be the source of pain either. So mortal is just a lot easier.
You go so many places.
I do. It's true.
So on the second article for the second podcast episode thingy, Hillary Tan asked about whether or not it was available on iTunes, and since I'm moving from Podbean to another host, I haven't put in that effort yet. I do intend to distribute it to iTunes, Google Play, or whatever it's called, and all those like iHeartRadio, all that stuff. But I have to put it in a place so I know that it's going to continue. Otherwise, it's sort of like teasing people with the first few episodes, and then it's somewhere else. So I haven't quite done that, but it is going to be something I do in the weeks to come as I get things switched over. Um, so I know we've talked a lot about Carrie, but I thought this message was especially hilarious because apparently she almost woke the neighborhood up listening. I don't remember what we said about Two Cheeks and a Hole. Do you remember what we said about Two Cheeks
Yeah,
and a Hole?
it was about the idea of calling this show your ass, and
Oh,
I was talking
right.
about how it's okay to show your ass. Everyone has an ass. It's just two cheeks and a hole. And Carrie liked it, and I think that's so sweet. Thank you so much.
And I'm gonna read this one verbatim.
Okay.
I used to be that person who would blame myself for everything or blame the person who was at the center of whatever was going on. It took a lot of work, but I have since moved on to a place where I try to blame no one and instead focus on life is hard and no one can be perfect all the time.
It was beautiful, Carrie.
I thought that was just really well expressed, and that's why I wanted to read it.
Yeah, it can be difficult. It can be difficult to live there, but when you live there, you have a lot of freedom that you never thought you had before because nobody really understands how much energy you spend, you use on either being angry at others or being angry at yourself. Not that anger isn't a necessary emotion to have, but it gets misused a lot, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said.
Thanks.
And then we also had Dennis Gorbanov and Blogs by Jay also just bring in more excitement. They're excited to hear instead of just reading, which brings another layer to the medium experience. So.
Well, yeah. Also, it brings another layer to how your fans can experience you because there's people that have been reading your shit for a while, and that's awesome. And now there's a whole another layer to you that they get to experience if they're interested, and it's nice.
And Blogs by Jay likes the name.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So, thanks again to You Good. I believe Hidden Egg was a suggestion by You Good. So thanks again.
Yep.
You good?
You good. Okay, so that's all there. I'll probably try to do that from now on each one. Just
each episode you're gonna do
just
a
little excerpt of here's the people that commented and what they commented, and thank you, and just responding to them. Because I mean we're not we're not really up for doing the live thing just yet, but them commenting is technically part of the conversation. And so I want to include that part of the conversation into the podcast as much as I can.
Sure, it also is a stepping stone for us to get a little bit more used to it.
Because
we could, not that it would be super great as an experience to be there live necessarily immediately, but we could start with something where we don't pay attention to chat until the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then just go through chat at the end. If it was easier or quote unquote like safer for our anxiety to do so, but
well, and we kind of get lost in the conversation with each other sometimes, and that might be how it ends up working out anyway, whether we wanted to or not.
Right, or chat might be a distraction that keeps us from getting lost in the conversation, so who knows. We'll just have to feel it out as it goes.
But for now, this is what we got.
Yep.
Okay, so on to the main stuff. Now, I thought because most of our listeners right now are creators, either from Medium, mostly Medium, but also there's probably some from Twitch. There may be some from like Patreon or that do Patreon that came through other methods. And I figured that since we are also technically creators, I know that you don't really think of yourself as one, but you are.
Thanks.
I thought maybe we could get vulnerable about that.
Wait, what?
I have a few questions
Uh-huh.
about the creator experience.
Oh, interesting.
You game?
So we're just gonna answer the questions as honestly as we can?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, basically? Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm game.
Okay, so my first question is what motivates your creations? And that, I know that you mostly just think about the writing stuff you do, but you also have, your art when you make your new little eternally mortal figure head
My
thing.
face guy?
Yeah, your face guy.
Mm.
And then sometimes you record videos that you don't do anything with.
Not yet. I'm
But
actually
I
planning
still
on.
count those
Okay.
as creations, even though you're not putting them out there. They're still inspired by you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, like,
I
what
have an answer. I
motivates?
think it's just silly. But do you want to go first? Do you want me to go
No,
first?
no, I want you to go first, of
Okay.
course.
1 second. Another cough coming. Currently, my uh, there's there's a lot of facets I can attack this question from. So it's difficult because like I can't really. So many good words so far. Um, so the things that have actually been created have come about as a desire from for from me. This is getting awkward. Okay, so I am challenging myself to create and produce and then release content because I've long had I've had many ideas for things for years now, well over a decade, probably decades actually, and I just never wrote any of that shit down. And like, it was a fun idea, it was something interesting, it was a beautiful vision in my mind, and then it just flew away, it just dissipated. And you got to hear a few of those because I would just throw them off the cuff when we were driving around, and actually kind of like gave me the idea that maybe they don't have to just be these ephemeral, ethereal ideas that amuse me for half a second and then disappear. Like maybe I could do something more with them. Um, but then every time I tried, I had this voice telling me that it was narcissistic and like conceited, and I was an asshole for wanting to put my perspective out into the world in any way, shape, or form. And so now I am challenging myself to overcome that voice because I think maybe that voice isn't like super helpful.
And may not be true. Right?
Maybe.
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 Um, but like a lot of my ideas, where do they come from? What was the question again?
What motivates your creations?
Okay, so I guess that's best to answer for what motivates my
Yeah.
creations. That's best. Okay, I'll talk about the other shit some other time.
So, just in case anybody cares what motivates my creations, it's like everything. So
I
many
fucking
things.
care. God damn it.
So many things. Like, you are a big motivator of my
I'm
creations.
so lazy.
No, I mean, not in that respect. You have shown so much interest in my works of the past. Like, if I ever actually come back to it, my Crystal Shard story is a huge one that I want to get back into, but I can't write that one until I finish Void Wizard, and I can't finish Void Wizard until I finish the Twin Flame romance. So, like, I have all of these like conditions of I have to finish this one before I can really dig into this one, and I've started learning how to stagger them so that I can work on Void Wizard, but I have to have this like really slow pace determined for myself so that I don't get burnt out trying to spin my wheels on that before I've even finished the Twin Flame thing. And I can't even start on the Crystal Shard story because that's just way too much. That's way too much.
I understand. I can't wait, but I also had no pressure. Take your time. It can be 20 years from now, and I'll still be excited to hear about it again.
So that's what kind of motivates, and the Twin Flame story is motivated by my desire to reconcile with my past. It's me literally looking at all of the notes and journals and everything that I have, and piecing together the basically the romantic love stories that,
Composed your past.
yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Um,
Had you ever said in the stories or in any articles that that was where the inspiration was coming from before?
I mean, I've said it places, in places, but I don't know where I've said it and where I haven't said it. So I don't know how many people know and how many people don't know.
Okay. I was just curious.
Um, I will spoil it. Like there is an actual twin flame that I'm trying to follow, like the line of the Eric character. That is the twin flame, but it's confusing because, like, you know, like any relationship history, it's not as cut and dry as a freaking fairy tale.
Well, yeah, that's why fiction and nonfiction are two very, very different
Right.
places to live. Um, but, you know, I think I haven't been able to read much of the Twin Flame story, but I'm glad you're doing it. Absolutely.
So I've got the motivation from you, for the like fictiony things, and then the twin flame thing is more of a personal motivation to overcome and develop myself personally. But then just coming back to Medium and writing really anything on Medium besides those things, which those things account for maybe half of what I write on Medium.
Mm.
Everything else has roots in the community of Medium as the motivation. They're really inspiring. I love the Medium community. I didn't know how badly I wanted a community of writers until I came to Medium, and then there it was.
Yeah, I'm. It's been. I've been really happy for you because, like, you know, we were looking for kind of a community like that for you. You may not have been aware of that all the time, but
No, I wasn't.
I was. I kind of always was aware that if you found a group of writers that you were willing to engage with you about writing and through writing, that
Hmm.
it would just like set you off. So,
And knowing this now, that's probably what also motivated me to do all those videos under Izanami-kun.
mm,
I was looking for a gaming community, but I didn't know how to be part of the gaming community because I didn't want to play the games that are typically multiplayer games, and I didn't know anybody to play them with anyway. So it was very confusing, and I never ended up developing a community to continue doing it.
yeah.
And then there's this podcast,
Mm.
which I'm highly motivated because you're in it and the Medium community is part of it. And then there's like this other community that you're sort of bringing little bits, little
We'll,
trickle bits of.
we'll see. No pressure. If you're actually here because you know me, Eternally Mortal, through like the Twitch stuff and Discord stuff that I do occasionally, like, wow. Hi. You, no pressure at all. Thanks for listening. I really appreciate that. But I don't expect it. I really don't expect it.
No, and I don't either. I'm just saying like the podcast has a bigger audience possible because
Mm.
it's not going to be just the writers from Medium anymore, which I think that's probably the majority of the people listening right now, but there's other people that will come from these when I get the distributed, places like iTunes and all that stuff. They'll come from those at random because they have their own algorithms there too that will randomly promote it,
Mm-mm.
and they'll come from your recommendations to your communities, and I find that just sounds thrilling to me to see what kind of community we can build from that.
It's so interesting.
Is it?
What's really interesting actually is that every time that you mention the possibility that I might have enough of an impact on any community that they might like take my recommendation and be interested in something that I recommended, it
Hmm.
fucking terrifies me.
That's a
Like
perfect
it's so
segue
scary.
because the next question is, what are your fears about publishing, streaming, or otherwise putting out there the creations that you create?
I don't even know if I'll be able to answer that question. Maybe you should go
I
first on
mean, you
this one.
started answering that with your terror, but that's fine. My fear with putting that stuff out there, honestly, it's that people will see the real me and reject me, and that somehow that's going to destroy my family life in some way. Like, not just destroy my life, but it will start destroying the life of the people I love. That is my biggest fear.
Mm.
And there's so many different ways that my anxiety will tell me how that's going to happen. Like, you just don't even know.
I understand. I'm gonna take a little bit of time on this one. Are you sure you're cool with that?
Okay, yeah.
Remember how I have a story?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I wondered if that was going to come into
Might
play here.
might apply here. Uh, so I have a great depth of fear actually about this, and that's probably my self-hatred coming up with things to bar me from producing content. I'll admit that that's probably the case because these are probably going to be dramatic, like pretty dramatic. Apologies beforehand if it is too dramatic to hear. Anyway, so I had an awareness of an event that happened to a very very popular creator out there that was pretty shitty. It was someone that this creator had worked with on and off for a couple of years, and it came out that the person that they worked with was like scamming their community, like hardcore. And my brain, as it always does, looked at the the bad person in this scenario. The person that's taking advantage of people, that's lying to people, that's trying to make people seem different than they really are, and actively doing that, presumably from what the evidence looked like, to make themselves appear more important or whatever, you know. And there was also the mention that like they were using mental health to make other people, they were using their own mental health issues to make the other people feel sorry for them or bad for them, and then give them more out of sympathy, basically. I'm being very vague about this on
Wow.
purpose. I'm not currently at a level where I'm ready to just start like shouting out anybody, no matter how big or small you are. I'll get there, I swear, but I'm just not ready for that. I don't want to necessarily impede upon any other creators'
No, that's totally
trajectories.
understandable.
Um,
We can take it slow.
Thanks, I appreciate that. So anyway, that happened, and I looked at that other person, and I realized that it was a possibility that there was some mental health issues, obviously, that were going through this person's mind to make it seem like what they needed to do to be able to be accepted by this world was to manipulate and lie to people, lie to girls to get them to, you know, be intimate with him, whether it be emotionally through Discord or physically through sex. And uh, I'm sad for him. I feel bad that that's what that person has to feels like they have to go through to be able to be accepted by this life. And it kind of like reverberated down around in my brain to where it became possible that everything that I typed in various communities might be perceived as the type of person that would try to get in good with you for a good while before trying to take advantage of you. Like all the things that I've said, because I've been pretty nice in the communities that I've been to, um, the real assholes out there that are trying to take advantage of people, they're super nice in the first couple of years. So there's nothing. There's literally nothing. The safe thing for all the creators that I've interacted to do is to not interact with me just on the off chance that maybe I'm going to be a person that tries to take advantage of them later on. Like that's what my brain does. That's what my brain is telling me. And so I like stopped like really interacting with some of those communities for days, a week, maybe a little bit more. I don't know. And this morning, while I was at work, I was listening to a stream of a community that I go to pretty often, and I was more comfortable. I was chit chatting in chat in a way that I hadn't in days, and then I just thanked the creator, the streamer, for providing such a comfy space that I was able to kind of come back a little bit from something that was kind of bothering me, and they just said a bunch of really nice things to me, and then asked if I wanted to share about what that was, and I did a little bit, but like it's a public space. I don't want to get real deep. There's a character limit on Twitch. Like the paragraphs I would type if I was given free reign would take a day to read sometimes.
Yeah, you need
So
medium for that.
yeah, and as seen by my 8, 9 articles max, like it doesn't happen very often to where I sit down to type that kind of stuff. But anyway, so my fear is of being misperceived, um, in such a way that is harmful to someone. Uh, and I know deep down there must be some sort of connection to, being afraid that that means that I'll be abandoned or neglected, or that people will reject me, right? Of course, that's the probable belief there, but everything that I see, as deep as I can see within myself, says I just don't want to hurt other people. And that specific example that I mentioned of, people perceiving me being nice as me just buttering them up, that is terrifying if it's perceived that way. And I hate that pain exists. I don't like it. I
Yeah,
don't like it attributed to me either.
it's really weird that like the things that you do naturally and genuinely are almost identical, or in some cases look identical to the things that predators do in
Yeah.
the beginning, in that charming phase.
Yeah.
And the only way you know the difference is because when you're talking to a person, there is literally never a point where you overstep those bounds. There's never a point where you ask for something that doesn't make sense with the character that you've created.
Well, in the communities I've been in recently, because everything's in text and um, it's hard to get context, not context. It's hard to get the the feel of the words, like the
Mm,
mood, like the
mm,
intention
right.
behind the words. That there's been times when I've said something that I shouldn't necessarily, like tiny little crosses of boundaries here or there, but it's always been very polite, and I've
I mean,
responded very
like dick
polite.
pics and asking for
Yeah,
nudes, like
it's
that,
not.
or like just starting to talk about sex in any way. Like you don't do that. That is not something that you ever get to. And in fact, you're probably going to, if anybody were to try to do that with you and get, amorous with you, you'd probably be like, I don't feel comfortable. I don't. You know?
Right. I would hate that for you. That would be terrible. You don't want to do that. I don't know. I fall in love all the time. It's certainly possible that someone would be able to like love me back in the same way, in
Well,
such a way
yeah.
that I'll be able to find a way to reciprocate. But I don't really hold out a lot of hope for that. I'm pretty poly in the first place, and there's a lot of monogamous people out there that are not super cool with that. And I understand. Absolutely understand.
But I mean, yeah, I can totally understand that fear, because it's almost like all the assholes of the world are just stealing your script.
I can't. I want.
It's not a script to you, though.
I want.
It's how you really feel.
I do want to hate the assholes, the people that are out there abusing people in this way, taking advantage of people in this way. But I really do just really feel bad for them. There's a lot more
Oh yeah, but
that you can be gained, that you can gain from this world, but with legitimate and real interactions with humans, than by taking advantage of them. And there's a lot of people that will never learn that, and it is the saddest goddamn thing in the world to
yeah,
me.
because before they
But they're
do
assholes. You don't have to feel bad for them. Trust me, it's fine, listener.
the terrible, awful things that we want them to be punished and have consequences for having done, they believed and still believe a misunderstanding of reality. They
Yeah.
have the same needs and wants that we have. And whatever happened in their upbringing, they came to these conclusions that they need to take it or manipulate people to get it. And that is where things went wrong. And before they hurt somebody else, they were being wronged by by being given that information.
Yeah.
And you tap into that empathetically.
Yeah.
And that I think is beautiful. Not many
Oh,
people can do that.
thanks.
I struggle to do that myself.
I don't know. I really feel, because like there's a lot of people out there that have been wronged, that have been harmed, that have been traumatized by toxic people, and like I for even a moment it could be perceived that I'm saying, you 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 should let go of your anger at someone that wronged you. It's
Well,
like
this
I
plays
can't
into the same
ever,
fear that you were talking about.
I can't, right? I can't ever tell you what to do. You're allowed. You're allowed to live in your anger and celebrate that anger the rest of your life, and you can have a good life doing that, probably. I have a strong aversion to anger, so I have a hard time imagining it, but I'm not going to tell you who to be.
Right.
Anybody can be
Right.
who they want to be.
But I think for people who are willing to try to understand how a person gets to that place, I think that it's a good thing to recognize that before they did anything wrong, before they hurt anybody, there was a failure in some environmental issue that led them to these beliefs. Because if we understand how that happens, why that happens, where that happens, when that happens, then maybe we can take steps to reduce that in the future and save more people.
Yeah, and I would love to, but I have a feeling that we're going to work on some like global warming and
Yeah, those are
like
important
energy
issues too.
crises
Yeah.
and feeding people. Those are probably more
Yeah.
vital from most
I
people's perspectives.
believe that we need to do it all together. Like,
I'm waiting for the emotional revolution that I believe is coming.
so anyway, let's move on to the third question. And I have a fourth question, but we don't have to answer it. I know. I like this format.
We could start a trend now.
I know. Do you want to go over the fourth
okay,
question?
just what is the fourth question?
The fourth question is really just what is your biggest dream in general?
Oh, that would have been such an interesting one for us to answer for the people to get to know us better. But unfortunately, we're going to completely shit on and ignore that question and instead answer this.
Yeah, but it's okay because this question is sort of inside of that. It's just what are your hopes and dreams for the creations that you're doing of like where it will lead.
See, I answered this question last time.
Did you?
Basically, because like you were talking about the podcast, and I just went on a tangent about how I hope to increase the vulnerability and love in the world, or decrease the judgment. I can't remember what I said, but like that's I mean, it's a lot more nuanced, and like conditional and circumstance based because it's hard to generalize that sort of thing. But yeah, I just want us to not hate each other so much. I really, really, at the end of the day, I feel like while there are people that can almost objectively, you can say they deserve hate, um, there's a lot of people that get hate that don't deserve it.
No, yeah, there's way more to get hate that
Way
don't deserve
more
it.
that get hate that don't deserve it, I think, in my opinion. And I think that if we could find a way to rise above that, then like everything else would just improve naturally, and we would get to a state where like people really feel taken care of and find their communities. And it's not so much, sorry, I'm going on for a long time here, but it's not so much that people celebrate like, oh, I found my tribe. You know that thought, I found my
Oh, I
tribe.
know that feeling.
Yeah, like that's a wonderful feeling.
It is.
And there's a lot of people that don't get it.
I know. I didn't get it for a really long time, so I get it.
I've known people that were in their 70s that have done since died that never found it. So like, there's people that just never ever get there.
That's just rough.
Most of the ones that I know were old racist, homophobic, transphobic white men. But you know,
they still deserved to have that sense of belonging.
maybe they would have been less all of these things I just said had they had some sense of
Actually,
community.
there's some research to suggest that is true.
I agree. But then, you know, young Nazis or whatever the fuck they're called also realize that building a sense of community works wonders with the youth and indoctrinate people.
Well,
and
that's the thing.
shitty.
They're using that need
Yeah.
to indoctrinate people into hatred.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that if you could say that I hated anything, it would be that kind of thing.
You hate hate.
I kind of do.
Yeah.
But I love love.
Who doesn't love love? So my hopes and dreams are really way more simple. I mean, I wish that I could be all, yes, I hope that
I'm
the
sorry,
world
I'm
was
such a
way
dick.
better, blah blah blah, but I'm not that good of a person. I do hope that I can inspire people to do their, pursue their dreams. So in that respect, maybe it's a little bit close to your lofty dreams, but personally, I really just want to be able to express the worlds and thoughts that are inside of my head hopefully to the benefit of the world, and also maybe get paid doing it, because
Sure.
I don't get paid doing it right now. I mean, pennies from Medium don't really count. So that's my big dream for
Point of order.
creation.
Point of order. There's a lot of writers that never get anything.
That's
Those
true.
pennies do
So these pennies
count.
do count.
But I
You're
understand that that's
right.
not exactly what you were looking for, going for, and that you are aiming higher, and that's totally fine
I
and
just
easy to
always
say.
wanted I always wanted to be an author, and now that there's so many different things that you can be online that didn't exist when I was a kid, I want to be a little bit of all of those things. So there's no like name for what I want to be now. I just want to create the things I want to be that I just want to be a creator. I
Mm-hmm.
want to make a living being a creator, and by being a creator and making a living, thus inspire others to do the same. That's what I want.
Mm-hmm.
That's my big dream. Not very, like, it's very greedy in some ways, but I feel like it inspires other people to maybe be greedy. I don't know. Maybe it's a terrible thing.
No, 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 no. It's first of all, absolutely. First of all, one of the biggest impulses of humanity that I've noticed over my couple of decades here is the desire to make an impact.
Couple
Like
of decades.
four, um, but like the desire to make an impact is so huge. Like you want to matter. There's people that I know that are like the most antisocial people that don't talk to anybody. But as soon as you get talking to them, they will immediately want to tell you things that they hope that you're impressed by or interested in because they they want to make an impact on you.
Well, they want to share who they are and be accepted by you. Like,
Right.
that's a very basic human desire slash need. And yeah, that's pretty much what my big dream is not just to share myself and get paid, but be accepted by the world by getting the income that suggests that I fit in here.
Yeah, and fuck the world actually, or capitalism maybe specifically for making it to where an entire generation or multiple generations maybe only feel like they've made a positive impact on the world if they've made enough money. Like that's some bullshit.
Yeah, it
There's no
kind of is.
reason why we had to take a currency system to be able to have the exchange of goods and services and turn it into a way of putting a number on people's value. I hate that. I
I
hate that a
do
lot.
like our currency system. I don't like capitalism.
Yeah,
It's not the same. People get them confused. They are not the same.
you can
You
have
can
currency
have
in
currency
other systems.
without capitalism. And yeah, I'm there with you. And I'm drowning in that belief. I'm still trying to fight against the belief that I don't matter unless I make enough money to matter.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I don't know what to say about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, no. We'll just say it. If if you hate capitalism, tell us all about it in the comments below.
So, I think
No pressure though.
that's probably all we're going to do. Do you want to do your little sign offy
No, no,
thing?
no. Before we sign off, we wanted to talk about what we were gonna do next
Oh, that's
episode.
right. That's right. We actually have a plan of what to do next episode.
Yeah. And I think I'm gonna just go ahead and verbally take
Yeah,
credit
yeah.
for it. This was actually something that I put some thought into this podcast, which is one of the first times I've done so. I'm very proud of myself.
That's
Not
okay. You
really.
show up here. That's enough for me.
I appreciate that. That's a lot to ask sometimes. Um, but uh, we're gonna talk about like what we mean by vulnerability, like what the word means to us, what the concept means to us. It may not completely mesh between the two of us or with you, dear listener, but I think it'll be an interesting one, and it's possible that that might take the entire episode.
Yeah. Yeah. That'll be fun though, I
I hope so.
think. All right. Well, now we're done.
Okay. Well, thanks again for listening. We really appreciate you spending your time with us. We hope we've brought you some happy guffaws or some deep thoughts. And I'm eternally mortal, and I hope you find smiles this day.
And I am the accidental monster. You can find me all over the place, but mostly on Medium. And until next time, follow each other, follow the dopamine, and follow yourself always.